up in general. Everything is sort of going up. There are some that are more than others. Ancient alien beliefs are huge now. People believe that there are lost continents like Atlantis and things like that. Clearly, that's a media influence. These TV shows, these media products are pushing that agenda, and people are seeing it on TV and saying, oh, there must be something to it.
Yeah.
But in general, the idea of the enchanted world, the world is more than what we see or the materialistic things that we see, is that belief is growing because maybe people are lacking something. Maybe they're, the Orthodox religion is going down and people aren't so much religious anymore, but they're inventing their own ideas of spiritualism.
Yeah, because
And
I
they're
was
moving into more new age things and things like that.
I think there's also another transition that's occurring as well. And it's one that's quite prevalent on TV and on media. Is superheroes. Powerful,
Mm-hmm.
powerful storytelling medium. I think comic books tell a fantastic story. Now we've got to the level of technology that you can replicate that on screen and have it look realistic enough that it tricks your mind to think it actually could be real. When those superhero shows, I know as amazing as some of them are, they all talk about different dimensions and aliens and superpowers that potentially the normal person could have. Now the layperson could be a superhero. Um, Again, and that's the same kind of belief structure you're feeding
Right.
into a lot of people that the idea of hidden agendas and secret societies and government corruption and the police state might be corrupt as well. And then you have to be an individual superhero who's off and on his own and he's a little bit of a loner and doesn't have many friends, but the friends are also eclectically a bit weird as well. They can get together to fight back the evil enemy, and I think that's a powerful narrative in and of itself that is replicated repeatedly. And you look at how so I hate to use word like Disney or whatever Marvel and DC are putting out. That is the narrative that most people, teenagers wise, really look up to, in the same way that people look at Buffy and people looked at Charmed back in the day, where there was a whole Wiccan phase where everyone became a
Right.
witch and a vampire hunter and stuff. And then everyone's now a superhero, and there's a really interesting media narrative about that.
Yeah, if you really look, there's some incredible threads through that where you can find out how it reflects our cultural space and time.
Yeah,
What are we afraid of right now, and what do we need from an alternative view of the world? And those things become popular. I don't know why there were all these ghost shows that came up in the 2000s. It was just an explosion of
oh
these TV
man,
shows.
some were awful.
They were terrible. None of them were any good.
No,
And then there were some even UFO shows. Well, you can't really get much worse than a UFO TV show because UFOs just make terrible TV subjects.
we're gonna
They're just
stand.
not there. I mean, you got people looking up at the sky. It's boring.
Yeah,
But the Bigfoot shows they became also extremely popular, and I heard many people tell me, "Well, I don't watch those because I believe in it. I watch them because they're funny, or we laugh at them." Or it's a joke, and or people did watch them because they eventually picked up a belief in them. They said, oh well, they're really finding evidence there,
really.
so there must be something there. So it's kind of interesting. There hasn't been a lot of research on this of why people watch paranormal themed TV shows, which are reality TV shows, not fiction,
Yeah.
and what they get out of them. Do they go there because they have a pre-existing belief, or do they get a belief because they watch them? There hasn't been much
No,
research done on that.
that's a really interesting thought to have, isn't it? I was going to say, so in the UK, we had a quite famous show called Most Haunted that is still on
Yes.
today, actually. Um, I kind of watched it. Many of my friends have worked on that show, and it's interesting to have watched it from an outsider's perspective, how the narrative changed from being quite an interesting, we're going to go into this location and just do a general investigation. It kind of set the precedent for TV, how they're presented. But
Hmm.
then there was a narrative that kind of threaded into that, where it went from being ghosts to being poltergeist to being demonic witches, and it suddenly became demons are chasing the main stars. And
Yeah.
how do you top this for the next show? How do you get the person to watch the next show? And the next season's going to have a bigger budget, so we now have to have a threat of a common enemy. Is that the same for shows that perhaps you've watched stateside? Where there has to be the narrative has to evolve. There has to almost be an arc to keep people gripped to the end of the series, as opposed to presenting, well, actually, there's something quite interesting here. It's a nice big spooky castle. Let's see what there's some history about this place. That we can talk about the stories that are here. Doesn't mean there's anything here, but we'll walk around and we'll film it and see what you think. I think there's a very different how you present that to being it's demons.
Yeah, the demon thing was quite shocking. Although it happened, probably it was introduced with the idea of there was a show called Paranormal State, which was a group of college kids that were work actually in Pennsylvania, and they brought in the person on the show was Catholic,
Yeah,
so you bring
Ryan.
in that baggage that you have of religion, and then they would bring in Lorraine Warren as a consultant, and of course the Warrens saw demons and everything. Demons were everywhere and they were active in the late 60s and into the 70s. And it's amazing that that carried through right today. There was this lull where we were treating parapsychology, paranormal as like parapsychology and something more scientific. And now we're back to all the supernatural aspects of it. I'm not sure why, but yeah, the demons are huge, and even the ideas of Satan and is manifesting in TV shows and media today for kids. So
Yeah,
these things come in waves.
it's true. There's like a rich source of like psychology and sociology that can be investigated there as these
No, yeah,
cultural names.
one thing about Most Haunted, there's a couple papers analyzing Most Haunted
Oh,
because it was
really?
such a unique show.
Ah, I should go and check those out actually. So yeah, such a powerful storytelling medium, I think, because you can present a fiction narrative through what appears to be a factual TV show.
Oh, a
To
good
get
example
people
of that was Ghost
a
Watch.
Ghost Watch, yeah. I mean, Stephen Volk is as a contact I have on Facebook and talks to quite frequently. He obviously wrote that show, and he always whenever anyone posts something about it, he always shares that out and goes. It's interesting the cultural narrative that's stuck into that. I can remember watching
Yes,
that live at about I think I was about 13 years old, and I can remember watching that and going,
really.
that was powerful. And I didn't quite get it at the time. I don't even think I actually watched the ending when the show originally aired. It wasn't until I watched it later on. And how it was like a huge bust afterwards, and everyone was upset, and some people thought it was like a
Yeah.
live seance happening on TV, and it really pushed a lot of buttons. I can remember the conversations happening, and I was only a teenager. I can remember going past that newsstands and start seeing Ghostwatch on there, and how that's changed.
Yeah.
But actually, it found itself woven into to watching Most Haunted. I felt like I was watching that Ghostwatch play out over the course of 10, 15 seasons.
It set the template. It really did.